Ask Reddit. People who work selling engagement rings, what's the biggest fight or meltdown you ever witnessed? I don't work at one, but I went with my buddy when he was going to pick one out for his soon-to-be fiancé. We walk in, and the seller asked us, "What is your price range?" That way we didn't immediately go full in love with a $10,000 ring when he's hoping to spend $1,000. I thought it was smart. A couple comes in behind us, and they get the same question. The guy answers right away, no more than $3,000. And the girl with him loses her absolute mind. Is that all I'm worth to you? Is that really all? A measly 3,000? My sister's ring was 15. How am I supposed to spend the holidays with a ring that's not even half that? The guy's pretty much acting like he can't hear her, so she turned her attention to the guy behind the counter. I'm just so embarrassed. We can afford more. I don't want you to think we're just some broke kids from off the curb. We have money. We have lots of money. I could buy everything in this store if I wanted. It's not like we don't have money. He makes more money in a week than you do in a year. Then she turns on me, I'm a girl, and starts asking, "How much is he spending on you?" I bet it's more than 3,000. This is just so embarrassing. I can't believe you'd embarrass me in front of these people. We have money. Her boyfriend is literally asking questions about carats and diamond strength and whatever else goes on with rings while she's going on like a parrot in the background. The guy behind the counter did a pretty good job of tuning her out as well. I was surprised he kept his cool after she started insulting his salary. He just looked kind of dead in the eyes. I'm sure it wasn't the first clown he's had at his rodeo. I was once in a jewelry store and there was a 22-30 something guy being helped. I didn't hear the entire conversation, but I realized that he was returning an engagement ring. When he was finished with the transaction, the salesperson added, "My deepest condolences." I guess I was shocked because I'm not that nosy, but once he left, I asked what happened to his fiancée. Only about a week before he returned the ring, she was not feeling well. She went to bed and never woke up. Up until that point she had never had a major illness. Turns out she had meningitis. I kind of have a twist story. Good friend works at a jewelry store and he once sold a guy a $12,000 engagement ring. The guy's fiancée yelled at him that she didn't want such an expensive lavish ring because she didn't want him to spend that much money on her because it would make her look like a gold digger. Edit. The guy ended up getting a $100 ring, which she was perfectly happy with. Worked at a luxury jewelry retailer, Little Blue Box. Old man comes in saying he's going to propose to his girlfriend and that she's been hinting at a particular ring. Showed him the exact style. It's one of the stylized diamonds, so it's always cut in the same shape and size no matter what. It was $4,000. He didn't like the idea of it being that much, so he asked me to show him other rings. He settled on a ring that was around $2,500. The next week, he came back, but I wasn't there. A co-worker had to help him and calm him down. He was fuming apparently. He was so mad. He said I convinced him to get a different ring that his fiancée didn't want. He said I pressured him to get a different ring and totally ruined his engagement, and he is now coming back to get the proper ring she asked for. Yeah, okay, buddy, as a salesperson who works on commission, I really convinced you to get a cheaper ring. 2 weeks later, I helped the fiancée with her sizing, and he wasn't with her. She knew by my name that I was the one who tricked her fiancé to get the cheaper ring, but we didn't bring it up. I think she secretly knew her fiancé was in the wrong. I sell engagement rings for an online company, so we don't see things in person, but I got a call from the fiancé. She was snooping through his email and found the email. She hated the ring and wanted us to change it. I kept telling her that no, your name isn't on this order. John is going to have to call us himself to change it. She insisted that isn't fair, and how could she get us to change the ring? It sounds like you need to have a discussion with John. They did eventually call together, which is never fun, and argued through half the phone call while exchanging the ring. John might want to take the hint and run. My girlfriend pulled me into one of those stores in the mall once to look at styles. Yeah, real subtle babe. The salesperson was just clueless though. So when are you thinking of buying this ring? How much are you planning on spending? What price would make you feel comfortable with a purchase today? I mean, I'm not going to tell my girlfriend when I'm going to pop the question. Also, I'm not going to buy the ring in front of her. That kind of ruins the magic. I had an independent jeweler make me a ring a couple of months later. We've been married for 6 years. There's a group of ladies out there who thought I was serious. A local store was closing down and they were holding liquidation sale, so my boyfriend and I popped in to check it out. He heads immediately to the watches and I'm browsing the rings. He finishes first, comes over to see what I'm looking at, and does a Homer Simpson, slowly backs away. I throw a fit. I don't even remember what all I said. Something like, "Oh, you can look at $700 watches, but you can't even glance at a ring for me. If you don't want to marry me, just say so." And I stormed out of the store. He followed, concerned, only to find me laughing. Thankfully we have the same sense of humor, so he found it funny too, but he still hasn't put a ring on it. Related. My wife's cousin got like a 2-carat ring from her now husband and ridiculed him for its size. Made him go shopping for a fake ring that she wears cause she's embarrassed by her 2-carat ring. She's a basket case. I would broke the engagement off right there. In great. Edit for clarity, 2 carats wasn't good enough. For reference, my wife has a 2.1 carat ring and everyone comments how ginormous it is. And it is big. A little different as they tried to pick a fight with me. I had a lady one time who looking to buy herself a nice ring. Her adult daughters were with her and kept talking about so and so got a ring that was 4 carats total and she should get something like that. She kept looking at these huge and frankly ugly gaudy rings and shrugging them off, saying she didn't like this part or that style. She said she wanted a big solitaire and would set it in a new setting with some fancy detailing. We didn't have what she wanted in store, so I pulled up our online catalog that she could order from. I find a stone that matches what she says she wanted and showed it to her. As I'm confirming the specs, she tells me, "You need to shut your mouth right now." I stopped and just stared. The price of just this stone is over $12,000. She lays into me asking if I'm joking. She doesn't have that kind of money. If she wouldn't take the cheaper ones I'd shown her, then how could I think she'd be able to afford that? Her adult daughters start in too. I'll let them go off until they'd run out of steam. Then I responded, "Earlier you stated the rings I'd shown you were not to your liking. You refused to give me a price you were comfortable with paying. It's not my place to judge what you may have in the bank, as it's unprofessional for me to assume whether you can or not you can pay for something based solely on your appearance. Now, if you'd like to give me a price range, I'd be happy to show you what we have that would fit your budget. Otherwise, there is a different store across the hall and a third option close to Dillard's." They asked to speak to the manager. I informed them that I was the current manager on duty, and if they would like to speak with the store manager, he would be there in the morning. They left and never came back. I don't work selling engagement rings, but I was witness to a pretty funny event when I was buying an engagement ring. This guy was there with his friend to shop for an engagement ring, was nervous and needed support. I guess he started having a panic attack and freaking out about the commitment of getting engaged. He was hyperventilating, sweating, looking pretty bad. The saleswoman had him sit down on a couch. She vanished for a minute and then came back with a beer and a warm cookie. The dude shoveled the cookie down his throat, drank about half the beer immediately, and started calming down. How much of an all-star was this saleswoman that she had beer and warm cookies ready? I asked the saleswoman I was talking to, a different one, and she said it happens all the time and they always have beer and cookies ready during business hours. I do not work at one, but I put the worker in a very awkward position. Also no fighting. So I sent my then boyfriend, now fiancé, a ring I liked and what size I thought I was. He bought it and admits that when he bought it, he thought it was going to be too big, but he knows nothing about jewelry, so just got the size I told him. Well, he proposed, I said yes, and went to put the ring on my finger, and it was not even close to the right size. Like it wouldn't even fit my thumb. So a few days later we went to the jewelry store to resize it. The lady was talking to me the whole time until the payment, when she completely ignored me and talked to my fiancé. Well, I told him I would pay for the resizing because I messed up, so when I handed her my credit card she got bright red and said nothing for the rest of the transaction. Watching my sister's ring, that was resized for the third time, gets stuck on her finger was hysterical. Her partner used his dead mum's ring, very sweet. Except she was 5'2" with tiny hands. My sister 6'3" with mannish hands. So the ring had to be resized. However, the store didn't really take on my sister's requests for it to be oversized as her knuckles swell in the heat. She tries the ring on for the third time in the store. It gets stuck on her knuckle. I thought she was going to leap the counter and murder the jeweler. Through clenched teeth she told them to get this crappy ring off her finger and resize it exactly as she asked for free, as it was the third time she had come in. I'm just couldn't stop laughing in the background. I call her Lana now. I've been in this business for over 10 years, and I've sold enough engagement rings that I really have no idea how many are out there at this point. Sooner or later, this is bound to happen. I've had it happen a few times. Here's the worst story. A couple comes in together. Let's call them Mike and Stephanie. Mike is ready to spend about $20,000, which is a lot of money for a young couple, and I'm showing them rings in that range. But Stephanie keeps pushing for more and more and more. Finally, with enough begging, pleading, smiles, and thinly veiled sexual promises, she talks him into a 3-carat centered diamond with an elaborate setting for around $30,000. Honestly, I don't feel great about having to witness this whole exchange, but at the end of the day, it's none of my business, so I complete the transaction. About 3 weeks later, Stephanie comes to my office alone. I assume she needs the ring resized or something, but instead she asks me if I can remove the centered diamond and replace it with a CZ cubic zirconia, a very cheap diamond substitute. I'm surprised, so I stammer, sure, but why? Are you traveling or something and don't want to risk the stone? She responds that it's nothing like that. She just prefers to have the cubic zirconia in there for now. Obviously, every red flag in existence is waving in front of my eyes at this point, so I say okay, take her ring, and tell her she can come back in a day or two to pick it up with the cubic zirconia in it. But as soon as she's out the door, I'm dialing Mike. After all, he's the one who wrote me a $30,000 check, so he's my customer, not her. Mike picks up, and after a moment of small talk, I ask him if he knows what Stephanie is up to. No, is the shocked response. Mike called me back the next day and told me that apparently Stephanie was planning to call off the engagement and return the ring, but keep the 3-carat diamond. He was obviously very upset and asked me if I could give him a refund. I offered my sympathy and gave him back his money. Needless to say, he was very grateful that I had called him. About 2 years later, Mike came back with another woman who I liked much better. They're happily married with 2 kids now. Mike and I have become friends, and he's probably referred me 10 plus other customers over the years. As for Stephanie, after she left my office that day, I never saw her again. Recently started working at a jewelry store, and it's amazing how many people come in with big retail jewelry store products to sell to us, and listening to how much they paid for something that we cold saved them thousands makes me sick for them. Anyways, had a fella buy his girlfriend an engagement ring from K Jewelers, spent about $2,000 on it 4 months prior. It came time to propose, she says yes, but it was gold, not white gold, and she didn't like the cut of the diamond, so she wanted him to pick out a new one. Obviously, with it being 4 months ago, he couldn't return it and decided to see what he could get by selling it to us. The diamond's clarity wasn't good, and he ended up selling it to us for $400 to use for melt. I felt really bad, but he didn't seem to be fazed by the scenario. I'm late, but I used to work at Zales. Every 6 months you had to bring jewelry in to be inspected and cleaned to keep the warranty valid. I had seen a guy come in a couple times. He was super quiet and always looked annoyed, so I decided to try to talk to him. I said, "Wow, she really takes good care of it, the ring. It's always so clean." He responded, "It's never been worn." According to the paperwork, he had owned the ring for about 2 years. Poor guy. I quietly finished up, handed it back and walked away. I never made eye contact with him after that.